Billy D with an amazing pre-Cal Jam podcast sponsored by our great friends over at Vox Life. Jay Dollywall stepped up big time this year and sponsoring the gig. He sees so much value in California Jam. But probably, no, not probably, you are my best friend in chiropractic. Probably they'll stress out a few people, but that's okay. I'm good at that. But, I mean, we're going to talk about some really pertinent ideas about how guys can really maximize not only their time, and also delegation, but also how to get more new peeps in the practice, which is something which to me is exciting. I mean, I like a lot of times people tell me, well, I don't need that many new people. I like new people. I like having new energy. And, you know, if you don't want new people, then probably turn off right now. But if you're interested in packing in 60, 70, 80 new patients a month. And if you don't want that many, just turn it down to 40 or whatever you want to do. I'm not here to tell you how to run your practice. But we briefly talked about the art of delegation and kind of that. I had a major experience with this yesterday. We have a new team member, Juliana. I don't know if you've met her yet.
Oh, yeah.
She's amazing. And, you know, and I had a new patient come in yesterday, and she goes, you know, I wasn't even planning on coming in. And, you know, I was actually thinking I should look for a chiropractor, but somebody from your team called me, and I'm going, somebody called you? And I'm going, so she just took the initiative herself to make a phone call, and this patient would have never come in. And, you know, I was really excited that Juliana took him, because at first she was a little bit, the newer generation sometimes afraid to talk on the phone, Brad. They like to text and shit. And she's kind of like got pushed into the fire because she's front desk now. And one of the patients had mentioned this person would be at the re-exam. She mentioned that this was a good person to call and contact, and we called and contact, and we landed, you know, a great new patient that's excited to get started. She got her first adjustment last night, so I had her come back in the evening for the ROF. So why don't you kind of elaborate on what you were talking about? But that's, like, to me, a good example of having your team helping you with like I would usually do those calls, and now I'm going to because I don't have time to do everything anymore, dude.
No. And that's the point. Most doctors don't. So whenever you talk about high volume, there's a couple of things that come to mind. People think you got to lower your fees to see a higher volume. You don't. You just have to up the value of what you do. It's always a value proposition for people to reach in their pocket and pay a reasonable, fair fee to come in. And you could do high volume and collect high dollars. And the reason you can see a higher volume is when you leverage your team correctly. So that's a good example of how to leverage your team at the re-exam. Hey, look, if somebody needs to, get a phone call or get a follow-up, and sometimes they just need to be listened to for 4 or 5 minutes, that's certainly something your CA can do. I'll give you a gold nugget right up front here too, Billy D. For our re-exams, one of the things that we do, and this sounds like you got that name and phone number from the re-exam.
Yeah.
We do that. We also collect people that are interested in having us come and do lectures.
Right.
You know, come and do talks at the re-exam. But also, I think that's really huge.
That's a good nugget. I'm going to put that on a re-exam form.
Yeah, man. Would you be interested in having us come to your corporate event, your work, your church group, any hobby groups? Like, you know, you could go to the Newport Beach Surfrider Foundation, and you got 100 dudes in there, and they love to surf. That's one of your passions. You're speaking from a place of authenticity because you love to surf. They're in the Surfrider Foundation, and if one of your patients does the introduction, that's gold. Mm-hmm. So those are ways to leverage your team, right? You change your form, you have your CA follow up. You don't need to do anything, and they can set that up. So it's a really good example of how to use your team better in your practice. And I know you and I get in trouble for saying, you know, we're in the trench and we teach because we're in practice. We just have an unfair advantage. You know this stuff, these little details make a huge difference in your systems. But we also have our CAs kind of pre-sensitize, and that's a word people listening want to write down, pre-sensitize patients before their first re-exam on what miracles they're experiencing under chiropractic care. Right. So we say, look, before you go into the room with the doctor and before you fill out your re-exam, we want to know how you're doing under your care. What other systems of the body are working better? Because the nervous system controls every system, organ, cell. So what other systems of the body? And a lot of times our patients need a little help. Say, what do you mean? That can all be done and pre-sensitized by the CA. Then they fill out the form. And I even have my CAs do like 90% of my re-exam, and I jump in there. The point is, those can be bottlenecks in a practice, right? A re-exam can take some time. You're in your happy hour. You're jamming with patients. Oh, God, I got to do a re-exam. And unfortunately, docs skip them.
Right.
And
No, we don't skip them.
no, but a lot of docs listening to this, I'm
Right.
sure they do.
Right.
And then we miss the testimonials.
And I think it's a lot of it to me, and probably for you, is just to make sure that we're on the same page and we're going in the right direction. And it's for me, it's to make sure that they've been to the doctor's report and the orientation, and do they feel comfortable with what their self care is and what they need to do at home. And it's also a time if they've got questions or concerns, or they're thinking about bailing or whatever. It's just a time for you to kind of handle things. It's
Totally.
12 visits, and it's time to kind of
But you have to do them.
Yeah, you have to do them. I mean, and it's not that big. It's not like I spent a half an hour with them. It's like it's maybe 3 or 4 minutes, right after their adjustment. It's not like I'm going into like doing full range of motion and straight leg raise and all that other stuff. It's basically just touching base with them on the 12th visit for me, and just doing an assessment on their progress. All right. So, anything else you want to touch on that one? I mean, to me, like
just real quick. I mean, you can have your CAs leverage into your practice, so it gives you more time, and all that means to me is more volume, which means more testimonials. It's all from to me, high volume is high love.
Right. I mean, and I think you got that from me.
I love when you say that. It's true though, right? It's like, it's the truth.
Yeah. All right. What was I going to say too? It was like, you delegate a lot of stuff out too, and then you've got more time to take care of you. I mean, you've got a family of 5 kids, and I like to surf, so it's a time for people to get out and experience life. 4 kids. I'm sorry.
Here's what I did learn from you: is high tide, low tide.
That's right, and that happens.
I like to flood the office with new patients, get it jamming. Maybe we see 60 new patients in a month, but then the next month I'm blowing out of town. Like we took our kids to India this summer. We took them to the Green School in Bali for 2 weeks, and then up to India for 3 weeks. I was gone for 5 consecutive weeks. I'll make no apologies for that.
No, and I think when you get to a point in your practice too, where you can, and like for me, I mean, I don't mind low tide once in a while. I mean, it's like I like to take a break, and I'm ramping up for Cal Jam right now, so I'm not as focused in my practice as I probably could be, but that's okay. I mean, it's
high tide, low tide.
That's right. All right, so I just got done speaking at Russian Roulette, a pertinent topic, something that's on everybody's minds. And I mean, I really didn't even realize it I was kind of blown away this weekend because I said I was listening to talk radio, and they were talking about concussion. It was like it was like every other frigging, sportscaster or whoever was talking about concussions, and I'm thinking to myself, Brad's got his fingers on the pulse, which you've always had, and you've always been in the forefront. You and I have said this from the very beginning. When it comes to marketing, we were always on the cutting edge of what was working.
That's right.
And then as soon as everybody was on our train, we jumped ship and we were on to the next thing. And you're good about that. You kind of like can see where things are going. You see where the puck's headed.
That's
so,
right.
How did you get clued into concussion number 1, and how can the doctors utilize that to their best advantage and ride that train while they can still ride it?
Yeah, and first, let me just say this: it's from an ethical standpoint.
Oh, dude, I'm not saying anything's enough. I mean,
I know, but just for the listeners, a lot of times they think, well, is brain and concussion a marketing tactic? No, but there's no medical solution.
What's wrong with having a marketing tactic, anyways?
That's right. That's right. And it's like there's no pill, there's no drug, there's nothing for it, but you better believe they're looking for it. And if we move quickly, chiropractic's all about the master controller of the brain and the nervous system. And, I always tell docs, market to your fetish. Market to your fetish. We'd like to talk about things in my practice that we want to move people away from, and also things that we want to move towards. And we want to move them away from the opioid epidemic and the addiction factor of oxy and all that crap. That's also hit a tipping point. So my team always feels like we're winning in the health conversation because we pick topics that are very chiropractically based, and then we're moving people towards better health with this concussion roulette, because the reality is medicine has no alternative. They've got nothing better. They've got nothing in this game. And all they want to talk about is CTE. So basically, once the brain damage is done, then medicine jumps in. It's too late. Right. Who wants to be dealing with brain damaged people? Right. Why don't we talk about how to get them working better? And then we even take it beyond that. We start talking about sports injuries, things like ACL tears. And they've even done longitudinal studies at UCLA where after head traumas and concussions, grades go down, and the likelihood that kids can go to college goes down. So you better believe when we do this talk to parents, of young athletes. They're super interested in this topic and what chiropractic can do from a performance standpoint. It's not a pain conversation. It's not pain-based. It really is the rung up the ladder that we've always talked about, which is chiropractic's more than back pain. It's more than neck pain.
Right.
Well, this is the dialogue that attracts those new patients in, and it's super fun to teach. But yeah, you're right. It's been cutting edge. We know where the puck is going, and it just makes it easier to market and get people in.
So how do you typically market this for outside talks to your community to get, obviously talks scheduled?
So short version on this is that the missing component is that there is no baseline normal yet to compare athletes to.
Okay.
So like we look at an x-ray and we could see a fracture and you go, oh, that bone's broken. Right. As chiropractors, we look at an x-ray and you go, that's a loss of cervical curve. Right. Those are problems. With concussion, you can't really conclusively look at something and go, wow, this is a mild to moderate, this is a severe to moderate. There's no grading system. There's no agreed upon prognosis for return to play. Right. There's all these loose ranges. It's what we call ambiguity. Right. So where the ambiguity ends is you have a pre-test on a young athlete. If they have a trauma, then you compare them to themselves.
What if they've already been traumatized before?
Then you got to go right into chiropractic care and get in correction.
Okay.
So they're subluxated.
So what kind of tests do you do as far as, to try to, I don't know if it's objective or subjective. How would you diagnose somebody with CTE?
CTE is almost way further down the road. That would be like an MRI, but then you're talking about brain damage. Right. With these athletes, we do a functional test in the office. Okay, functional. And there's some quantifiable apps and things, and that's why we put together that concussion roulette program. If docs want it, it's online now. Concussionroulette.org is the website. But you and I you came to the Rose Bowl. We rented out the whole freaking stadium. Yeah. I wanted to make a big splash in the profession because we deserve first class. Right. And if chiropractors really understand what's going on here, it is our conversation. So to go back to your question, if somebody had a past trauma, say they had it 2 years ago, a car accident, a whiplash happens anywhere from like 4 to 10 G's of force. A concussion always happens over 90 G's of force.
Jesus.
So that's just it. In a real quick 10-second analogy, an audience full of parents will understand that they say the same thing. They say Jesus. They go, whoa. Yeah. So they don't need to know what a G-force is or what that does. But if a car accident's 4 to 10, they go, well, I know somebody in a car accident, or I was in a car accident. And then I say concussions over 90 G's. That's exactly, they go, oh, Jesus. And I go, look, in the AMA guidelines, they have no agreed upon severity scales. They have no agreed upon return to play when it's safe. And if somebody has a second concussion, it could kill these athletes. So I say, look, there's a lot of ambiguity. The ambiguity ends when you bring your athlete in preseason. We get a baseline test, a performance test, and then if there's ever a problem, bring them back, and then we can compare them to themselves. And here's the gold here, brother. We call it a health selfie. It's a health selfie. We compare them to themselves so then we know if they're getting better or worse. Okay. And a lot of times, if they're not concussed, but they fail these tests that we set up through that protocol, then they must be subluxated. Right. So go right from concussion, and the next thing out of my mouth is the word subluxation. If chiropractors want performance-based new patients, check out Concussion Roulette. We do a play on words like Russian roulette because it's like another bullet in the chamber. We don't know when that thing's loaded, and you don't want to risk it with your children. And I have 4 young athletes. I thought it was funny that you said I had 5 kids.
I got you mixed up with somebody else.
I thought I was adopting you into the family. You were my fifth.
Yeah. I'm your youngest, right?
Oh, too funny.
I said 5, and then I go, shit, he's only got 4 kids. Why'd you say 5? Yeah.
That's all right. When we do that heliboarding trip, I'm going to do a pre-concussion test on Luke. And then after the heliboarding trip, I'll do a post-concussion test.
Yeah, but it's powder. You don't really get concussed. Now, if you go to Mammoth with me, and I was just thinking that when you were talking that, when I got drilled by that dude, when I got hit, that was like I hit a friggin' tree, dude. To me, that was like a lot more than any auto accident a person would sustain. Of course, there's different degrees of auto accidents, of course, but
sure.
I'm saying, but the typical rear ender where somebody just gets hit in their car, but I got friggin' dude, I got
True.
clocked. I mean,
And the risk you had with that is you broke ribs. So guess what gets all the attention?
right.
It's all the rib stuff, right?
Right.
And then, a month later, you're going, oh, I'm having cloudy thoughts or whatever. That's so standard. So, and obviously to convert those people into chiropractic care, I don't feel bad saying it's an easy conversion because they need it.
Well,
But
number
then
one, everybody needs it to begin with. It's they just don't
totally,
understand that. I mean, I like the analogy's dental analogy. They all get that. Why is their spine any less of a concern to them? In fact, it should be a higher concern, especially for kids, because their spine is in their developmental stages, and it's going to create their future. So why not address that? And kids, subluxate themselves, as we all know, more than probably adults do. So, I mean.
right,
If we did half the shit kids did, we'd be friggin' black and blue every day. So,
totally.
I mean, I try to get I don't try. That's why half my practice is kids. All right, let's talk the last one, and then we're going to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
But if anybody has any more interest in concussion, they can go to concussionroulette.com, right?
It's a .org, yeah. Concussionroulette.org, or just go to newpatientmaven.com. Our newpatientmaven.com page has all the stuff that we do. And we've done live workshops on it, but it's all online now, so they can do it from home. There's the clinical side of it. There's the gut repair side of it. There's some really cool aspects of it. Quite honestly, I needed to be a better doctor for some of my pro athletes that had concussions in Major League Baseball, and it made me elevate my game. So I think that's important for docs to hear too, is I was honest with myself, and I said, look, if I'm going to help some of these catchers in the major leagues, then I got to elevate my game.
Sure.
So it's cool to say that. I needed to be a better doctor. I surrounded myself with people that were, and now I'm happy to share it with the profession. Just real simple.
Okay, and then how much extra time does it take to work up just all the testing that you're doing?
It takes me no extra time because my CAs do it.
Okay. So how much time does it take them?
It's like 8 or 9 minutes.
Okay.
And we timed it. It's less than 10 minutes that a CA can do, and then the doc jumps in there. And again, I know how to see higher volume, and also, I mean, we took 11 weeks vacation already this year as a family. That's because I have a great team, and I leverage my CAs, and I know you do the same thing.
Right.
But I really want docs to start using their CAs more, because then you could have more family time,
right? More
snowboarding time,
sure.
Whatever's important. But
you don't have to this.
Yeah, and as much as you and I hustle, and we do, the American grind of taking 2 weeks vacation every year, it's not good for chiropractors. And I learned that from you for sure.
Right.
Every 90 days,
right,
you got to take a week off, right?
Yeah, I just kind of put CalJam on my plate. That kind of fucked things up for me. All right, last thing. Let's talk about this, and then we'll jump out of here. The 10-minute talks, I thought you were full of shit. I said, there's no way this works. And then you threw me some bones, and I went out and did them, and I was, like, floored. I mean, I did better in those 10-minute talks than I ever did with the full 30 minutes. I think it's just because here's what it boils down to. It's like with the whole TED Talk format at CalJam, it really gets people to condense what they're going to say. There's no fluff. There's no, boom, here's the subject matter, and you get it out real quick, and then you get people inquisitive about what you're talking about, and you get them to sign up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see you as crazy and you're nuts and all that stuff. Over time,
really?
I love that.
Me?
But I love that the profession's seeing that you're a genius and you're a student of the game, and that's exactly it. You nailed it.
A little bit of an exaggeration, but.
Nah, man, it's true. And the reality is your job at a lecture is to pique their curiosity, right? Yeah. It's easier to pique their curiosity in 10 minutes. So if docs are taking notes on this, here's the deal. When you do any health talk or lecture, you're really not there to give answers. You're there to raise questions, and those questions get answered in the office. So your job is really just to get people curious, and to go back to something like the concussion roulette, it's real easy to make them super curious to come in for the exam. That's where you do your best work. So the Art of the Close is that 2-day workshop where we teach docs how to do the 10-minute talk. The Art of the Close, we also teach them how to close it for growth, because we also are under the false pretense that we do these lectures to create awareness. And that's not it. We got to get people out of awareness and into action. And that action step is a new patient appointment. Be clear on the goal.
Right.
Out of awareness and into action. And the solution at a nutrition talk, the solution at a nervous system talk, the solution at a women's health lecture is to get them in for a new patient appointment.
Right.
It's the same solution.
Right.
So people are like, well, should we teach them paleo or should we teach them? I don't really care. The solution is make an appointment, and that's when health begins.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
So what? Let me ask you this, because this is my. I'm learning too. In fact, I'm going to go over my nuggets that I learned from you just in this short little talk.
Right on.
Is how do you leverage the 10-minute talk as far as getting more talks for yourself?
See, this is a sign of your genius. You're teeing me up. The less time you need, the more talks you can book.
Okay.
And I'll tell you where we're crushing it right now is anybody in sales or performance. So a good example would be like real estate.
Right.
Go to a real estate office, you talk about the nervous system. If people are working in a hindbrain function, they're primal, they're primitive, it's fight flight. You don't make sales that way. It's got to be a frontal lobe. It's nervous system based. You know what I mean? That's the cool thing is we're teaching them how the nervous system works. In concussion roulette, we're teaching them how the nervous system works. So you did a real estate talk, right?
I did bank talks.
Okay, so same thing. It's performance.
Right.
How many new patients did you get from those 10-minute talks?
The first one I got like 23.
Right
The
on.
second one, there was not that many people there, and I still signed up 16. So I signed up outside the room, like you always teach too. It's Polish math, right?
Right on, man. That's it.
For an Italian, was doing some Polish math.
And you do free appointments, right? Everything's totally free, right?
No, I do the $20
Yeah.
coupon.
So it's
Actually,
no
we
pesos.
raised it to 30 too. Just to
What's it? No pesos.
No tacos. I
That's
think
it.
I
Oh.
coined that one too. You're kind of
There we go. No pesos, no tacos. So the deal is, if they don't pay, we don't book an appointment. That's what no pesos, no tacos is.
Right. Because I mean, we've learned a long time ago, being in the trench, that your show rate goes way down when you just do the free thing. So I mean, I'd rather have 10 scheduled and paid for than 20 unscheduled and not paid for any day, because we know that the show rate is significantly lower in the latter group.
Right, so and the money doesn't really matter. $50.
No, the money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with Juliana yesterday. I just was so excited that she took the initiative herself to do that call without me even asking her to do it.
Yeah.
Then I threw her like a nice little chunk of some cash, and it was just because I know if you give back to your team, it's not like I don't know, I like to give thanks to people. Okay,
totally.
So my takeaways,
we do say, but that's huge.
Here's my takeaways, and then you can add whatever you want to it. So what I'm going to take from this is, number one, at my re-exams, I'm going to push for outside talks. Number two, I am going to make sure that we would start doing more functional testing for the concussion. I want to call it CT because that's chronic. And then delegate that to somebody on the team. I mean, I've got Adam here who does all my exams and also my x-rays, who's an x-ray tech. And then I'm also going to do sales performance talks to real estate groups and see if we can start focusing on that. And then last, before we go, I just forgot to mention for the for the concussion, also I'm a big fan of the CBD oils, which we have a line. You can go to the word innatehemp.com if you want to find out more about that.
Yeah, do the innatehemp.com. You came and spoke on that at the Rose Bowl, so we rented out the stadium. We talked about it. We had so many docs that just go, man, I wish I had this a year ago. I wish I had it 2 years ago. That's when you know you're playing in the right wheelhouse. When people are going, where was this years ago? And, we mentioned the Everest coaching and getting your teams involved. People say the same thing. They go, how come I didn't get this 10 years ago? There's just some really cool stuff that works. And again, when you're in the trench, those little details make the big difference. We say big doors swing on small hinges.
Right.
Those little details make all the difference.
That's a good one. Big doors swing on small hinges.
You need to say that you came up with that.
No, I won't. I know. I always credit you, dude. Like I always say, my good buddy Brad says, the money's the shavings of a fine carpenter. Right? How do you say it exactly?
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you're a good carpenter, you focus on your craft.
Right.
From the sawdust and the wood shavings, that's just money. That just accumulates around you.
Right.
But you focus on the patient, you focus on their care, and then money's going to pile up around you like wood shavings in a carpenter shop.
Right.
That's exactly it. Focus on the main thing, and the other stuff will come through. So no pesos, no tacos means if they don't pay for their new patient appointment, we don't book an appointment.
Or they don't pay for their x-rays the first visit, or they don't pay for their friggin' care. That's like, why do we have to give shit away in this profession?
We don't.
And again, we don't. I mean, and it's like, if you're not going to pay, then just tell them to beat it. I think that I've just gotten that point in practice. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't love people and I don't work with people, but if they're not going to value what you do, you don't need them around anyways, because they're just going to be a pain in the ass to begin with.
Totally. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, thank you so much. You're going to be at Cal Jam this year, right?
I'm going to be there, brother. I'm stoked.
And you got a gig coming up. You got an Art of the Close coming up in Chicago?
Yeah, we've got an Art of the Close in, it'll be in January in Atlanta.
What do you have in the beginning of December?
Beginning of December, basically teaching an associate model in Chicago. So basically how to take that baseline of an Everest and then how to start plugging in team members and even associates. I've just had so many docs ask me how to take more time off. I'm actually starting to teach that model of how to get to that next level where you can step out and run it like a real business and not have to deliver every single adjustment.
Perfect.
And really create that family balance, what we call 360 degrees of success, where you've got family balance and you've got your health and you've got a healthy business and you're just well-rounded spiritually, all of it.
So is this the first time you've done it?
That'll be the third time.
I just didn't even know about this one.
You know how it is, man. We teach so much stuff. It's just...
What do you call this one?
The missing link, because there's a step between running your baseline practice and having a true associate model. And in between there's this missing link. And a lot of docs, when they skip this step, they don't run a proper associate model, or the associate leaves, or they all want $100,000 for showing up to work on Monday for the year. You know what I mean? It's like there's a missing link to really creating that. And we got that wired, man. It's been pretty awesome. So
how many people do you think you'll have at that gig?
We've already got 50. It's sold out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's sold out just because there's a lot of workbooks and role playing, and I'm as much as big stage things are cool. I love workshops.
Right.
I love workshops because you can roll up your sleeves for 2 days and just work through the kinks with 50 docs and go make a better family life, collect more money, and it's really cool.
Perfect. All right. I don't know if I should come out for that one. Should I?
Dude, you're always invited. You certainly will learn a ton. Yeah, please do, man. Yeah, 51. We got 51 people for that event.
All right, perfect. I'll talk to my wife and see if I can go.
Please do.
That's December 1st and 2nd, or when is that?
Yeah, 1st and 2nd in Chicago.
Perfect. All right, signing off, Brad. Love you, bro. Thank you.
Love you, brother. Thanks for doing this.
All right, rock and roll. See you at Cal Jam. I'll see you before then, though.
Yeah.
Over and out.
This is the greatest chiropractic event on the planet.
First impressions are everything, and when you walk in, you see the crowd, you see the stage set up, you hear the band.
The camaraderie was incredible, impressive, and I really felt like I was connected with my community.
Incredible. I've been to 9 out of 10 Cal Jams. The energy was through the roof, the most electric Cal Jam I've ever been to.